Hey guys, Ira Feuerstein with No Bullshit with Ira Feuerstein. Hey, we have a great episode today. Before we go into the studio and see who's there, I want to remind you of a couple things. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then hit the bell icon right next to it. That'll let you know every time we put new content out. Number two, if you like the content, if you don't like the content, hey man, comment, share, like the post, and let all your friends know about it, because hopefully we're bringing you great information you can help to grow your business. So with that, let's go into the studio and kind of see who's here, shall we? I wonder who's here. Are you ready? Let's do it.
All right, look at who's here. Barry Moltz, small business extraordinaire.
I'm in the hot seat today.
You are, man. So thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All the way from Chicago.
Thanks for having me here.
Yes, awesome. So let's get into this. So first question I want to ask you is a little bit of an icebreaker. So you're from Chicago, which is an amazing town, amazing food scene. I love food, as you can tell. And so your go-to restaurant, what is it? What's your favorite meal?
All right, so my go-to restaurant is a place called Coco Pazzo, which actually, if you translate that name, it means crazy chef. And they have spaghettis and meatballs, which is really to die for, and a glass of Malbec wine. It's great.
I'm coming next time
There
I
you
go
go.
to Chicago. I'm into it. So let's talk a little bit about your upbringing, kind of where you came from. Let's say pre-business days. I'd love to hear about kind of where you came from. Let's hear about that.
I grew up in a Yankee New England town in Connecticut, went to school in Boston, and a week after I graduated, I moved to Chicago to work for IBM. Worked there 10 years selling, we used to say big iron, the big computers back then.
Yeah.
And then I left there because I had a sales manager where first prize was lunch with him, and I always said, hey George, what's second prize? 2 lunches with you? So I quit that job, went to go work for a client of mine. A year later, he fired me. So I said, I can do this. So then I started 3 of my own businesses.
It could have been worse. It could have been a set of state knives.
That's exactly.
So that's a great story. So tell me, that led you up to sort of your business career. So tell me about Shafran Moltz. How did you start that? What brought you to do that? I'd love to hear about that.
So in 1999, when I sold my last operating business, my wife says, if you want to stay together, you got to take a break, because she's been through all these ups and downs with me. So I decided to start speaking in front of people, helping them as a consultant. I would, work with various brands who want to get to small business owners. I started a radio show, and I've been doing that now for the last 19 years. So it's worked out really well.
So when you started that business, there must have been some hurdles that you had to overcome.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of the hurdles, starting that business and kind of operating it.
I think the hard part is when you've worked for a large corporation and people return your phone calls because you're with an IBM. When you go on your own, it's a lot harder to be by yourself.
Right.
I mean, it is lonely being a small business owner. And I think also the expectations, if you think back to the early 90s, people thought in order to have a successful business, all you had to do was write your idea down on a piece of paper and then sell it to the VCs. And that's just not the way it works. So I wanted to show small business owners that there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but it's going to be a really worthwhile journey.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So was there one piece of advice, that you wish you would have had before starting that business? Like one gotcha, somebody would say, hey, listen, watch for this.
I think a lot of people look for that magical idea. And it's not about the idea, it's about the execution of that idea. So it's about execution. It really is all about the people. Business is about people. It's much more important who you're doing business with than what you're doing in business.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a ton of small business owners and mid-sized business owners who are watching this podcast religiously. And one of the things they always love to hear from people is like, listen, what's something that you've struggled with as a small business owner, and how did you end up fixing that?
One of the biggest struggles that I had was when I sold my last business, they took $1 million off the sale price of the business because I couldn't really understand the balance sheet and the financial statements. And I had an MBA from Northwestern University. And so one of my personal missions has been that to help small business owners really understand their financial statements so they understand where they've been and where they're going. A lot of people think they understand it or it's all in their head. That's just not the case. You've got to get educated. You've got to learn about what's going on. So that's a gotcha.
Well, that's interesting because, I'm an avid watcher of Shark Tank. I love that show. And invariably, a business owner will come into that room and they'll start asking them questions about their business, about the financials of their business, the numbers. And more often than not, they can't explain it.
Right.
They don't know it, and they get eaten alive. And they
Literally, by the sharks.
Literally.
You've got to know, how does your business make money? What are the metrics that really make your business successful?
That's awesome. So, you wrote this great book about getting businesses unstuck. 25 tips on getting businesses unstuck. And it's a very interesting read because there's a lot of great content in there. But, for all the business owners out there, if you just had to distill it down to a couple of like great nuggets out of it, what would they be?
Well, the first one really is in sales and marketing. The biggest problem people face is they get stuck in what I call the double helix trap. Sometimes things are busy, sometimes things are slow, and they only do marketing when they have no business. But as soon as they get some business as a result of that marketing, invariably they stop doing the marketing. So their business stays flat. So you have to figure out, with the technology tools that are available, how can you continue to do marketing through these tools so your pipeline's always full. There's got to be marketing. The second thing is, business is about people. You've got to figure how you're going to leverage people in your business, because, Ira, if you're going to end up doing it all yourself, you don't have business, you just got a job.
Right. And I think, another thing I think that I personally like is this whole concept of culture in a business, right? You got to have the right culture, you got to have the right people. Can you talk to that a little bit?
People hire mostly based on skills, and that's a big mistake. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to have skills in order to do a job, but if you don't fit into the culture of the business, that person's never going to succeed there. You always can teach skills, you can't teach cultural fit.
I was watching, it was a Gary Vee episode, and he was saying how it's so important to fire fast. If there's somebody who doesn't fit your culture, they can be the smartest person in the world.
Right.
But if they're not going to fit in, they're not going to fit in.
Right. You got to be slow to hire and quick to fire, and a lot of times we don't fire people because we're afraid we made a mistake. We don't want, the devil we know is better than we don't know, but it's really a huge problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about a time in your career or anywhere along the way that you failed at something.
Well, we were talking, I was alluding to that before, that I actually found my second business partners in the classified section of the Chicago Tribune, when newspapers used to be popular. And it's pretty good to find a boat there or an apartment, but you never look for business partners.
Chainsaw.
Exactly, in the newspaper. And these people and I really didn't fit together. A year later, they pushed me out of the company. I was fortunate enough to get my money back. And from that point, I really realized that who you're doing it with is much more important than actually the business that you're in.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, you got to make sure if you're going to go into business with somebody that it's somebody that you trust, that you know you can work together.
Right.
Because otherwise it's hard. It's probably worse than a divorce.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Because this time your partnership is really a marriage without sex, and I don't think that works out too well.
That's good. So tell me a little bit about. Let's go here. So let's say you had a business owner sitting right here, right now.
Right.
And the person is looking to really exponentially grow their business. And that could mean many things. It could be grow the revenue, grow the number of customers, whatever that means for them. If you had to give them like one golden nugget, one thing that you got to do this, what would it be?
I think you got to look for the leverage in your business. What is going to provide that leverage? So, for example, if you're a service-oriented business, as you hire more people, you build them at $1 and you pay them for 40 cents, there's leverage. Or you're going to create some kind of intellectual property and you're going to resell that over and over again. Where is the leverage point in your company, and how are you going to use it to get bigger? Remember, if you're just billing by the hour, there's no leverage there. You've got people who will pay for value, and that's where the leverage really is. You can charge people for value, not by the hour.
True, very true. And as I talk to a lot of small business owners across the U.S., and I know you speak to a ton of them. One of the things I see that's lacking quite often is them using technology. I'd love you to talk to how small business owners can leverage technology in their businesses.
This is an interesting point, because I think a lot of people use disparate apps in their business, right? They'll use an app to do their accounting, or they'll do an app for their CRM. but there's no strategy behind it. They don't all talk together. You really need to have one system so you can have a holistic view of what the customer is. That's leveraging technology. That's leveraging data analytics. If you're just using different apps that don't talk to each other, there's a problem.
Yeah, and in these days, I mean, you can leverage technology super cheap. I mean, everything's on a subscription basis right now. You can pay per month. And a small business owner technically could leverage technology to make them compete with the biggest companies in America at a fraction of the cost.
For probably hundreds of dollars a month, not even thousands or 10,000, hundreds of dollars a month. It's not that hard, but you have to commit to picking the right system.
So what are some of the types of systems they should be using?
Well, you've got to make sure that you have a holistic view of the customer. One of the problems that we face all the time is a customer can contact you in so many different ways, and the information about that customer is sitting in all these different siloed areas in your company, and you don't get a whole view. So you've got to make sure you take it all the way from CRM down to order, down to customer experience and service. So one customer exists one place in your organization. That's really the key.
Yeah, and simple things like creating a survey after you're doing something with a customer. Send them a quick survey, right?
Right.
I mean, it takes nothing to do.
Right.
And you can automate most of this stuff.
And the idea is that you want to build a relationship with them, because I've been saying time and time again, all right, no one wants to buy your stuff anymore. And that's really no bullshit, right?
Yeah.
People don't want to buy products or services. People want to have an authentic relationship with your company. People and relationships stay. Remember, customers come and go, but fans stay forever.
That's a great point, and I want to talk about that for a minute, because I think too often in business we get so caught up in, I got to sell this widget at this price, and I got to sell this many of them.
Right.
And we're not thinking about the whole relationship side of the business, because you're right, relationships can last forever. Relationships can get you past problems.
Right.
You can have a problem customer, but if you have a good relationship with that customer, and that can be through, artificial means, on systems, or it could be through me talking to you, right? But I think that's super critical. Maybe talk a little bit about that, about, how do you build great customer relationships?
Again, you have to have relationships through personal contact. It can be automated. You can have a relationship to the brand. So I consider myself an Apple fan, right? I have a relationship with Apple in the incredible products that I buy from them, right? I now have a relationship with my Peloton bicycle, right? Where I enjoy getting on that bicycle. And what's the relationship? It's with the relationship with the trainers that are exercising with me every single day. So it depends on your business, but think about, how are you making sure that there's outstanding customer experience, and how are you ensuring that there's an ongoing relationship with that customer even when they've been your customer for a very long time? The problem, Ira, is a lot of times we get them and we forget them, and that doesn't work.
And if you don't build the relationship, guess what?
A competitor will.
Somebody will.
That's right.
And they're going to take that business away
That's
from
right.
you, period, end of story.
That's right.
So tell me about something, we'll go back to some of the fun questions. So tell me a little bit about, what are you curious about?
I'm really curious about AI. I was one of the first users of Amazon's Alexa, and I just love this idea of being able to talk to machines. Now, maybe it was 2001 HAL. I think it was more that movie Her, where Scarlett Johansson was the voice of the operating system. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe I want to have a relationship with Scarlett Johansson. Again, that's no bullshit. That's the truth. But I like the idea of a natural interface, that I don't have to use my hands. I don't have to look at anything. I can just have a conversation with my computer. And I think that's really the future.
Yeah, it's amazing technology. I mean, there's, I think, so much that's going to happen with AI, and it's speeding up the level of what they're programming with it. It's going to be pretty amazing. And I think, if you need to meet Scarlett Johansson, maybe one of our viewers knows her, and they can hook Barry up with a lunch meeting or something like that.
That would be great.
That would be awesome. One last question I want to ask you. If this whole sales thing didn't work out, you didn't have any more content for a new book, what would you do instead?
I want to be the lead actor in a musical on Broadway. I can't sing, I can't dance, acting is kind of poor, but that would be my dream. I love being in front of audiences as a speaker, and I think it'd be better if I was singing and dancing.
That would be amazing. We can maybe get you on Hamilton or Spamilton.
Either one would be fantastic.
Yeah, you just got to learn how to rap.
Exactly.
So maybe we'll get you some rap lessons. So thanks for joining us today. That was
Thanks,
really
Aaron.
awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. When I'm in Chicago, we're going to go to dinner together.
Coco Pazzo.
Coco Pazzo.
Crazy chef.
Good shout out. Hey guys, I'm going to link up Barry in the description, so make sure you click on his links if you want to get his books or you want to go hook up with him or buy any of his training or use him as a consultant. That would be great. Also, smash that like button, make a comment. We will answer all questions in the comment section. And we want to make sure that we get those questions answered to you as quick as possible, and then share this video. We love doing this content for you, and we're hoping you're getting something out of it. So with that, we'll close this episode of No Bullshit with Ira Feuerstein. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.